What we're witnessing today is another troubling example of media distortion, a deliberate attempt by tabloids to fabricate outrage where none exists. This latest controversy involves Meghan Markle's recent trip to Paris Fashion Week, and it perfectly encapsulates how modern sensationalism replaces truth with manufactured scandal. Let's examine the facts, something that appears to be in short supply among certain media outlets. Meghan attended Paris Fashion Week in support of her longtime friend, designer Pier Paolo Piccioli, at the Balenciaga show. During her evening in Paris, she shared a short video on Instagram Stories, a simple clip showing the Seine at night, filmed from the back of a vehicle. The footage included views of Parisian bridges such as Ponte Alexandre III and Ponte des Invalides, beautifully illuminated against the skyline. There was no commentary, no captions, and no hidden message, merely a calm, aesthetic glimpse into one of the world's most recognizable cities. For any reasonable observer, the intent was clear, a peaceful moment, nothing more. But reason, it seems, is not a tabloid strength. Within hours, the usual suspects, British and American outlets, alike, seized the clip and twisted it beyond recognition. The New York Post labeled the video insensitive. The Daily Mail leaned on its so-called royal experts, individuals whose credentials apparently exclude basic fact-checking, claiming the video had been filmed near the Ponte de l'Alma tunnel, where Princess Diana tragically died in 1997. Their insinuation was obvious, that Meghan's post was somehow disrespectful to Diana's memory. And with that, the outrage machine roared to life. Social media fanned the flames, as indignation entirely unfounded spread at lightning speed. Here's the reality. The Ponte de l'Alma tunnel does not appear anywhere in the footage. The bridges shown, Ponte Alexandre III and Ponte Invalides, are roughly 1 kilometer away from the tunnel. That's not in the vicinity. It's an entirely different part of Paris. No tunnel is visible, no reference is made, no symbolism implied, yet none of this stopped the publications from publishing what can only be described as fiction dressed as news. Did any of them check a map? Did anyone verify the geography before pressing publish? Of course not, because facts don't drive clicks. Outrage does. And few things generate outrage quite like invoking Princess Diana's death to condemn Meghan Markle. This is not journalism. It's exploitation masquerading as reporting. Now, let's address the double standards, because they are impossible to ignore. The very outlets clutching their pearls over Meghan's 5-second video remained silent when, just 18 months after Diana's death, Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles made their first public appearance as a couple. Where did they choose for this debut? The Ritz Hotel in London, a choice steeped in symbolism. Given that Diana had dined at the Ritz in Paris on the very night she died, that operation, aptly named Operation Ritz, was no accident. It was carefully orchestrated, complete with over 200 photographers positioned outside to capture the moment. How did the press respond? With praise? Headlines called it a successful public debut, and coverage framed Camilla as a legitimate partner, offering her the kind of institutional approval the press has never extended to Meghan. There was no moral outrage, no accusations of disrespect, no public debate about propriety or sensitivity. But when Meghan shares a silent video of Parisian bridges a full kilometer away from any location, tied to Diana's death, it suddenly becomes a scandal. The hypocrisy is breathtaking and entirely deliberate. What's really happening here is simple. Meghan refuses to disappear. She continues to live publicly, support her friends, and exist on her own terms. That independence, that refusal to be controlled is what truly infuriates her critics. This isn't punishment for wrongdoing. It's punishment for autonomy. Meghan is not being vilified for misconduct. She's being targeted for visibility. Her every move is stripped of context, recast into a narrative that sustains the tabloids. Ongoing campaign of hostility? Let's be frank about what's driving this machinery. These outlets cannot forgive Meghan for walking away, for choosing mental health and family over the relentless circus of royal media control. They have lost their access and their leverage, and so they manufacture controversy to justify their continued attacks. And perhaps the most cynical aspect of this entire episode is their weaponization of Diana's memory. The same institutions now claiming to defend Diana's legacy were the very ones that hounded her during her lifetime, the same press that invaded her privacy and helped create the conditions that led to her tragic end. Today, those same forces exploit her name, deploying it whenever convenient to attack Meghan. It's a selective form of protection. Diana's legacy is invoked not to honor her, but to harm another woman often compared to her, a woman enduring the same systemic cruelty. If these outlets truly respected Diana's memory, they would end this cycle. They would recognize the hypocrisy of weaponizing her death to attack another woman, and they would reflect on the toxic media behavior that history has already condemned once before. At its core, this entire controversy reveals something far more serious than a single misreported story. It exposes a pattern of institutional media manipulation, the deliberate bending of truth to sustain an illusion of scandal, the cynical use of tragedy for profit, and the calculated harassment of a woman who refuses to conform to the script written for her. This isn't merely gossip journalism. It's character assassination dressed as moral concern, a deeply political act, designed to preserve old hierarchies and punish those who challenge them. What makes this latest episode particularly concerning is the sheer speed and scale at which the false narrative spread. Within hours, UK tabloids, American outlets such as the New York Post, and even Australian programs like Sunrise were all promoting the same provably false claim that Meghan Markle had filmed her Paris video beside the tunnel where Princess Diana died. The problem? That claim was entirely untrue, and easily disprovable with the most basic facts. Yet the story gained rapid momentum online, fueling an avalanche of hostility and personal abuse directed at Meghan. And every single ounce of that vitriol was built on a complete fabrication. Some commentators have suggested that Meghan's representatives should have issued a public rebuttal, but that argument misses the point. Meghan has made a conscious and, frankly, commendable decision to disengage from this cycle of media manipulation. It's a decision grounded in mental health and self-preservation, a refusal to feed an outrage machine that exists only to provoke her. The tabloids crave a response because reaction equals relevance. They need Meghan to reply, to comment, to protest, because her words keep their false stories alive. Her silence, in contrast, denies them oxygen. It exposes the entire operation for what it truly is. A business model built on provocation, not truth. Here's what the tabloids won't tell you. Paris welcomed Meghan warmly. The fashion community embraced her presence at the event. She supported a close friend, enjoyed the city, and by all accounts, had a lovely, uneventful trip. The backlash only began after the media decided to reframe her content. The outrage wasn't organic, it was engineered. It was created in newsrooms, refined by editors, and then amplified by social media algorithms trained to reward anger. This wasn't a reaction to anything Meghan did. It was a reaction to the idea of Meghan, to her independence, her influence, and her refusal to conform. Let's be absolutely clear. Meghan Markle did nothing wrong. She posted a brief, aesthetically pleasing video from Paris. That's all. The supposed scandal exists only in the imagination of tabloid writers desperate for engagement and in the echo chambers of those eager to be offended. Geographically, the facts are indisputable. The Ponte de Lama tunnel does not appear in the footage. The bridges visible in her post are over a kilometer away. Anyone with access to Google Maps can confirm this within seconds. The entire narrative collapses under the weight of its own falsehood. But the persistence of this myth tells us something revealing. This was never about geography, or even about Diana. It was about control. The double standards at play expose what this has always been. Not a defense of Diana's legacy, but a punishment of Meghan's autonomy. The media establishment, both in Britain and beyond, has struggled to come to terms with Meghan's independence from the institution they see as theirs to define. By refusing to play by their rules, she's appended the power dynamic between public figures and the press. And rather than adapt, the tabloids have chosen to retaliate by manufacturing new controversies to replace the old. In that sense, this entire saga is a political story, not merely a royal one. It's about how narratives are weaponized, how misinformation is deployed to preserve influence, and how moral outrage is commodified for profit. It mirrors the broader pattern we've seen in UK political coverage, where distortion is disguised as discourse and manufactured division keeps audiences emotionally invested. What we're witnessing is a form of media populism. It thrives on binary thinking, heroes and villains, loyalists and traitors, saints and sinners. In Meghan's case, she's been cast as the outsider, the one who refused to obey, and that archetype is too profitable for the tabloids to abandon. But at some point, the public must decide whether it wishes to continue being complicit. Every click, every share, every outraged comment fuels the very system that perpetuates these lies. The public outrage isn't accidental. It's engineered, and it's monetized. To anyone still buying into these false narratives, I'd pose a simple challenge. Ask yourself why you're so willing to believe the worst. Ask who benefits when your attention is diverted toward outrage instead of truth. And perhaps most importantly, ask why the same media that vilified Diana now claims to be her protector. The pattern is unmistakable. When a woman within or near the royal orbit refuses to conform, refuses to be silent, she becomes a target. Her independence is reframed as arrogance. Her privacy becomes defiance. And her refusal to be humiliated publicly is recast as evidence that she deserves to be. It is a cycle as old as the monarchy itself, one that depends on public complicity and press immunity. But this time, the pattern is being documented, analyzed, and challenged in real time by independent media, digital platforms, and audiences no longer willing to accept the official narrative. Meghan's silence, in this context, is not weakness. It's strategy. It's a quiet rejection of manipulation and a refusal to legitimize lies with engagement. It's a move that denies tabloids their headline and forces them to reveal their true motive. Profit through provocation. And, while the tabloids trade in outrage, others are building something far more valuable. A community that questions, that verifies, and that refuses to accept fiction as fact. The audience that refuses to be manipulated is growing, and that is the greatest threat to the old machinery of misinformation. To those who continue to support truth over tabloid fiction, thank you. Your discernment matters. Your refusal to be deceived is what keeps independent journalism alive. So let's end where this began, with clarity. Meghan Markle did not film beside the Ponte de Lama tunnel. She did not dishonor Diana, and she certainly did not create a scandal. The scandal exists only in the headlines, and in the desperation of those who profit from your outrage. Until the press learns to choose integrity over impulse, these cycles will continue. But so too will the resistance to them, grounded in fact, guided by truth, and unwilling to surrender to manipulation.